Today, I wanted to do something a little bit different. We obviously have the 6 August major that's going to be starting up next week, but I wanted to focus on one sub-region in particular that hasn't really been given that much proper focus, at least in the West. In Siege, we've kind of looked to North America, Europe, and Latin America as being simple to understand and to watch. They've had the most consistent coverage over the past few years with the most familiar faces in the game, and that's set the standard for what we've come to expect from Siege competition. What's gotten considerably less attention is APAC, and even though ANZ has had really good coverage, and APAC North now has its own restructured league with an English broadcast, today I specifically wanted to talk about South Asia. Most of this is going to be one big history lesson. Welcome back to class. I am just as qualified to teach this course as Johnny Sins is. Let's begin. These days, South Asia has officially been recognized and given the ability to compete with the oceanic teams in APAC North, but back before that official designation, it was a region that was really struggling to survive. India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Nepal have all had some investment in competitive Siege for a while, and you might remember last year, we had an ESL India Series LAN event in November, but what you need to know is that's the only official LAN that entire region has ever had. Hosting tournaments has been difficult because of server locations. India especially doesn't have any dedicated ones for Rainbow Six, so anything done online would have to be connected to either EU or Southeast Asia servers, and all of that has less than ideal connection difficulties. ESL kind of threw the region a bone with some online tournaments, but they didn't have any prize money, and they also didn't have the ability to play in Go4 weekly tournaments. They couldn't play in APAC qualifiers. Will you shut up, truck? I'm trying to record. They can't play Go4s, APAC qualifiers, they don't have Challenger League, nothing. They've literally had nothing for over 3 years. You can still hear the truck. So the only real things these guys have had to compete in is independently organized LAN events. Most of them have been run by a company called the Indian Cyber Gaming Championship, and they've put the work in. They've covered for player travel and accommodation, they've had some small prize pools, and that's basically what's been keeping the scene alive. Once more of them started happening, Siege began to see more traction. We started seeing teams and branding popping up, and lots more people were getting invested. And that's not just India. Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka were all also getting involved. This wasn't really isolated to just one country's like national scene or anything either. Everyone from all these countries competed in the same tournaments in one big united effort, and it was all done under the hope that one day Ubisoft or ESL might finally turn their attention to them and try to make themselves a legitimate contender on the worldwide stage. Then November 2019 rolls around with Operation Shifting Tides, and if you've never bothered to read operator bios before, I'm about to spoil one for you. Cali is the game's first Indian operator, and to commemorate that, ESL finally decided to shine the spotlight on India. It was a 4-team LAN, it was a weekend long, it had full casters production, it was done live, and the total prize pool was 200,000 rupees, or about 2,700 USD. It's interesting because it was an Indian event, which is kind of a slap in the face to the other countries in that region, even though these days South Asia is still mostly dominated by Indian players, but Pakistani and Bangladeshi players still make up a pretty sizable portion. So all of this leads to 2020. South Asia gets recognized as a formal sub-region in APAC South, and just a few weeks ago wrapped up its own national program that is sending 4 teams to the upcoming 6 major. And we just got the news a little while ago that they will be getting mainstream English broadcast coverage for their bracket next week. So if you haven't seen teams from here ever play before, this is literally the best chance you've ever had. Most of their broadcasts have been on Facebook or much smaller streams, and a lot of them have been recorded and just not broadcast anywhere. Names like Vector Esports and Mercenaries have been around since 2017, but other teams at the top of the food chain include Kira Esports, Union Gaming, and Monka S. Sorry, I don't want to laugh, but come on, Monka S, really? These guys have come a really long way since trying to scrape by in the game's earliest years, and even if their skill level isn't really comparative internationally, please go see what they're capable of, see what they can do as they play for their mini-major title coming up next week. And once we get a little bit more into that coverage, we'll dive into exactly who these teams are. I know I have limited knowledge on this, but I'm still going to do my best because these guys absolutely, for the effort that they've been putting in, deserve all the exposure in the world. So go support them this upcoming week when the South Asia mini-major portion happens on twitch.tv/Rainbow6. You can find the link below. I don't remember off the top of my head. That's all from me. Like I said, APAC coverage is going to be coming first, and then Latin American coverage will also be coming a little bit later as those two portions of the mini-major kind of sprawl over one another. I also want to thank Sparko for taking the time to answer some of my questions. He's a Bangladeshi player that plays for Union Gaming, and he's a really, really nice guy to get to know. He helped break down a lot of this stuff for me into factoids, so I was able to find a way of explaining it it to you. So a big thanks to him. Please hit up my Twitter, my Twitch, and this YouTube channel for more in the coming days. Please and thank you, and I will see you later. Peace.